All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's time for the Malzberg panel, and right now that panel consists of the lovely Heather Hansen, attorney, litigator, partner at O'Brien and Ryan LLC, and daily rap panelist right here on Newsmax TV, the show that follows mine at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Larry Elder, we're efforting Larry Elder, but now, of course, you know, he has the star on the Walk of Fame in Hollywood, and who knows when we'll find Larry Elder. He's probably signing autographs somewhere. I'm only kidding. We'll try to get him. All right, Heather, let's get to what took place yesterday in Texas. You know, it's Charlie Hebdo come to Texas. The results not as deadly, of course. Nobody inside, none of the good guys, as I like to say, hurt or injured. The two terrorists miraculously killed by a traffic cop with a gun when they had AK-47s. But it's here, and it's going to stay here, and it's going to keep coming here.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you know, it's scary to think that our First Amendment rights, which are so important to who we are as a country, could be so easily threatened. And it is wonderful that someone was saved. But you know, it's such a difficult thing. People think the First Amendment has exceptions. They talk about, well, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That is a rare exception to the First Amendment, and that is only when you're yelling fire falsely and when you're doing it to make a clear and present danger to other people. So here, when people try to second guess the First Amendment, they need to remember that it is the First Amendment for a reason, and it is something that we need to make sure that we hold very dearly.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not, and I don't know how this plays into the law or what you just cited. But yelling fire in a crowded theater, the reason people would run and stampede each other is because they want to self-preservation and for themselves and their loved ones. They want to get out of harm's way, natural instinct, you name it. But to somehow twist it the way some on the left, some in the media are doing, to say, well, you know, why would you have this Draw Muhammad cartoon event when you know people are going to react like this, and they make it akin and try to make an analogy between the can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You can't reasonably give these people an excuse and say, well, of course they're going to want to kill you because you drew a cartoon. I mean, there's no analogy there, is there, legally or otherwise?
Absolutely not. You know, there are many people who say things that others don't like, and that does never ever give an excuse for the type of behavior that we saw yesterday. And to try to act like it does is a disservice to who we are as a country.
Now, let me ask you about this. Again, you know, I know your area of expertise in the law isn't necessarily, you know, dealing with murderers and stuff like that. But one of the suspects, at least one of the suspects, was known to the FBI. As a matter of fact, he lied to the FBI about traveling to Africa 5 years ago, but a judge ruled they couldn't prove that he was going to join a terrorist group, so they let him go, basically. So he was out when he probably should have been in. Then you come to New York. Yesterday, a police officer who has since died, Brian Moore, 25 years old, died today after being shot in the face yesterday by a thug who served 5 years for attempted murder. What is somebody doing out after 5 years for attempted murder? But you know what? You listen to Hillary, you listen to Obama, you listen to the left, this mass incarceration that they want to end, and people like this will be on the street.
Yeah, I mean, we do have overcrowding, so this idea that a lot of bipartisan committees are coming up with not letting people go, but decriminalization of minor crimes is something that maybe will help keep people like the guy, I'm not going to call him a gentleman, who shot that cop, who probably should have been in. You know, the terrorist who was let free from the event that happened in Texas, that's a little bit different because, again, he has his First Amendment rights as well, and that's why we as a country don't lock people up just for what they say. We tend to wait until they actually do something. So the fact that he wasn't in jail is probably not as big of a problem as the fact that this cop killer wasn't in jail.
Yeah, and well, you and I could disagree on decriminalizing minor crimes, because once you let people get away with little things, I think they tend to gravitate towards more serious things. But that's another debate for another day. We have more to talk about with Heather Hansen and maybe even Larry Elder. Don't go away. The panel's back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with the Malzberg panel. Heather Hansen is here. And let's move on, Heather, to a little politics. And let's start with the interview that Bill Clinton gave to, I believe it was NBC News, Cynthia McFadden. Some of the things that struck me, he said that the charity, the Clinton Foundation, has never done anything knowingly inappropriate. When asked about his $500,000 speeches, once Hillary became Secretary of State, he said, I got to pay our bills. which to me is, you know, I don't know what's worse, that or Hillary saying, you know, we were dead broke. But of course, they had, you know, 2 homes and all that stuff. I don't think his interview helped much in any event as it relates to Hillary.
I agree, and you know, I think that the same thing happened in 2008. I think there was plenty of times when he was out on the stump and the people in Hillary's camp were holding their heads. And I think that probably happened this morning, especially when he said, "I need to pay the bills." You know, the use of the word knowingly inappropriate was very Bill Clinton.
Right.
He definitely knows what words he's using. He uses them very appropriately.
It's Clinton speak.
Exactly.
They should put that word in the dictionary if it's not there already.
It totally is. As soon as you saw knowingly inappropriate, well, there you go. If something was inappropriate, we just didn't know. It's and that point did come up, the fact that they filed those tax returns inappropriately, but they didn't know anything about it. I think that this issue is not going away for them. The more that you read about their relationship with the people in Canada, the more that you wonder at what's coming next.
And the Washington Post, again, these are mainstream, traditionally liberal publications, the New York Times and the Washington Post leading the charge in many instances with these stories. Now, maybe the Clintons are feeding them to get it out of the way now. I don't know. But regardless, talking about a $100 million donor from Canada, we've heard of his name before, Frank Giustra, and letting him use his private jet and the friendship that developed and the appearance of favors that were done. I mean, could you fathom any other potential presidential candidate surviving these revelations?
There's a part of me that agrees with the Wall Street Journal op-ed today about DOJ investigations. You look at Senator Menendez, you look at Chris Christie and what happened with Bridgegate, and the lack of any similar investigation here with so much smoke, even if there's no fire, to look into what's causing the smoke, you would think that they would do it. It's a surprise to me. Well, it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
It's upsetting to me that they
IRS, Fast and Furious, right on down the line.
Surprised.
Yeah, but absolutely. I mean, you could, for what Menendez was charged with and what Ted Stevens, was charged with, found guilty, and then it was overturned. You could allege a quid pro quo when the appearance is there, and then let the jury decide.
But you know what's so funny, Steve? In each one of those, and I read the indictment on the Chris Christie, the Bridgegate scandal today, and then I read the indictment for Senator Menendez. A lot of that evidence is in what? Emails.
Right.
And that's a big part of what would be missing.
They're gone.
Exactly.
Imagine if Christie and all them erased their emails. All right, let's talk. You read the indictment. We have Wildstein with the guilty plea. We have the two big shots in the administration formally pleading not guilty.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think any of this is going to point back to Christie, or we would know that at this point?
I think you would know that at this point, although the attorneys for the two said that at least one of them, who have been indicted, and their trial is going to come up as soon as July, they said that at least one of them is going to testify on his own behalf, and Bridget Ann Kelly, her attorneys are planning on subpoenaing a number of people, including they would not count out Chris Christie. So while I don't think there's certainly not any indictment coming for him at this point in time, it's not going to be comfortable for him to have to testify at the trial of this matter.
Yeah, if he's called to the witness stand, is there any? There's no executive privilege as a governor or anything. He would have to testify, right? To
the most part. There's certain things that he could call privilege on, but nothing that's really going to be germane to this trial. He would have to testify. It's going to be very difficult for him, and I think that you see that they're struggling right now to determine what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Because this Bridgegate, it's interesting because you look at Benghazi and you look at some of the other potential candidates' issues, and the Bridgegate just doesn't seem to me to be as big of a deal, but it really just hit Christie down.
Absolutely,
for some reason.
It's a big deal, but doesn't measure up to the dead people in Benghazi and everything else. Let me ask you real quick, Carly Fiorina, what's your take on as a woman, and with Hillary the only other option until this point? What's your take on Carly Fiorina?
I've always liked Carly. I've always thought that we need someone who's good with business to get in there. Now, I don't know that she's ready to be president. I think maybe vice president is actually what she's angling for. I do hope that she stops with the I am woman. She is a woman, and she certainly has that going for her in the fight against Hillary, but it's not her only strength, and I think to focus on just that is doing her a disservice.
She said it is easier for her to go after and criticize Hillary than it is for a man.
I think that that's true, but I don't think that has to be her only position. I think that she can go after Hillary on issues that aren't women's issues, and that she can do it without saying, I'm a woman too. I think that she needs to step back a little bit from that position and talk about what's really important to the American people.
All right, Heather Hansen, as always, thank you, and we'll see you on the Daily Wrap.
Thank
a
you.
little later on Newsmax Television. And I'm sure, Larry Elder, we love him, and I'm sure he'll be back next time. I must have had something pressing or miscommunication, and he will join us on the panel very, very soon. Up next, it's the Deputy Editorial Page Director of the Wall Street Journal, Daniel Henninger, will be here, ladies and gentlemen, so don't go away.